The Nintendo Switch is currently filling up with a lot of 2D fighters, and honestly, that's a good problem to have in my opinion, because I love 2D fighters. This of course all started with Ultra Street Fighter 2, the Final Challengers, coming to us from Capcom for the Nintendo Switch. Then Hamster started bringing over SNK arcade ports, and you got games like Fatal Fury, and of course the King of Fighters series showing up on the Nintendo Switch. Indie companies got into the mix with games like Pocket Rumble, and now in 2018 you're starting to see a lot more 2D fighters come to the system. We of course had the Street Fighter Anniversary Collection, which I absolutely love. Recently we reviewed Blade Strangers on the channel, which was a really fun indie-based fighting game that I thought was a really good time and a really well done game. And now we have SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy, which is the next game on the list. And it's a game I've really been looking forward to. I enjoy old school SNK fighters. Games like, of course, Samurai Showdown are just super fun in my opinion, so I was looking forward to this game. And NIS America sent over a review copy of this game to check out on the channel for the Nintendo Switch. This game also is available on the PS4 as well. So thank you to NIS America for sending over this game to check out on the channel. So what is SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy all about? And is it a good game? Is it a game that you should add to your fighting game collection on the Nintendo Switch or PS4? Sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's jump into the world of SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy.
Hey, RGT 85. Hey, Sean.
Oh my God, it's Stevie Richards!
Judging by the title of this game, you can tell one thing: it's going to be an all-female roster, and it picks apart different characters from different fighting games. Of course, games like King of Fighters, Fatal Fury have representation in this game. There's some characters from Samurai Showdown as well. There's some new characters, and then there's of course the Terry Bogard character, which I thought was pretty funny. It's a really good character to use, and one of my favorite characters to use when playing SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy. That's a really long title name. We're gonna call it SNK Heroines for the rest of this review. Now, the game does offer a story mode, and the story mode is honestly pretty weird. Basically, some evil guy is capturing women in sand and making him a sacrifice so that he can resurrect this evil presence, and you are basically trying to stop that from happening. And honestly, it's a silly story, it's kind of stupid, but the evil character himself is actually very funny, and cutscenes that happen between battles, there's a lot of funny stuff that goes on, like he dances and sings and stuff like that. It's a game that obviously doesn't take itself very seriously, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing for a fighting game. I enjoyed the story mode, even though it is a bit brief because this is a tag team battle and there's only 15 characters within the game. So when you're choosing your characters, you got to figure there's not going to be many battles going on. But I did enjoy the story mode, even though it was brief, and I did play through it a couple different times. Now, aside from the story mode, there's also your standard stuff such as training, online battles, and of course versus battles, where you can just play against the computer to hone your skills. One thing I liked about the online battles is the currency system. Basically, as you play throughout the game, you acquire gold in the game, and basically this gold can be used for a plethora of different things that we'll talk about later in the review. But for the online stuff, you can actually bet gold, and if you win your online match, you get more gold. If you lose your online match, you of course lose that gold that you bet. So that's pretty cool in my opinion. I like a currency system in my fighting games, and it gives you a sort of incentive to keep playing the game, acquire more gold so that you can do things with that gold in the single player aspect of the game. You can of course look over your cutscenes that you've unlocked. There's a full sound gallery, some artwork, and it's a pretty beefy package in terms of game modes and stuff like that. Definitely has a lot to offer, definitely a lot of cool things to check out within the game modes. Graphically speaking, I think the game looks pretty good. Whereas Blade Strangers was 2D characters on a 3D background, this game has 3D character models on a 3D background. So there's a lot going on here. It definitely looks like a more of a modern fighting game when it comes to 2D fighting games. And yes, if you're into stuff like that, there are jiggle physics in the game, so, you know, enjoy that. I didn't really care, but it was noticeable because some of these women are very scantily clad. The audio in the game is pretty good as well. The soundtrack is very nice, very Japanese, upbeat sort of stuff, but I like that. You know, I think it's pretty cool. It definitely puts you in a good mood. So it seems like SNK Heroines is actually a pretty good game. The graphics are nice, the audio is good, there's a decent amount of gameplay modes, there's a currency system, the online seems to work pretty well. But there's one thing I haven't talked about, and you're probably sitting to yourself thinking, why hasn't he talked about the one thing that really matters in a fighting game, and that's the gameplay? Because unfortunately, that's where SNK Heroines loses me when it comes to this game. I wanted to really like it, I wanted to really love it, but unfortunately, I just cannot get into the gameplay, which is very strange for me to say because I grew up playing games like Samurai Shodown. I remember my parents were in a bowling league and I would just sit there in an arcade playing Samurai Shodown all the time. I have very fond memories of that. It was an excellent game. I remember picking it up on the Genesis. I love older SNK fighting games. So why isn't SNK Heroines clicking with me? Because they changed a lot of things. And I don't think change is necessarily bad. I think change can be good to spruce things up and keep things fresh. But I feel like this game is just way too different and way too simplified for most fighting fans. So basically how the gameplay works is you have light attacks and strong attacks, and you don't really do any sort of button combinations in order to do those attacks. You simply just press the button, and you can spam the button over and over to sort of create a combo thing going on. Instead of pressing back to block, you actually press the L trigger, which will bring up like a little shield, and then you can actually roll through the thing like that. The grabs are now done with the single button press as well, and you have a button for special attacks, and your special attacks honestly are pretty limited and they're pretty easy to pull off because it's just like a single direction, maybe two directions, and then you press the button. Now, one thing that it is worth noting is there is an actual interesting thing in this game that I think needs to be in future, potentially in future SNK fighting games, because I think it works really well. It just doesn't work very well in this game, and that is the stamina meter. So in this game, basically it is a tag team fighting game, but unlike games like Marvel vs. Capcom, where each character has their own individual life bar, the characters share their life bar in this game, but what they don't share is the stamina bar. Doing the special attacks will drain your stamina bar, but the stamina bar is important because you have to have it in order to do a dream finish, and that's how you beat an opponent in this game. You don't just simply drain their life bar, you drain their life bar and then do a dream finish, which is done by pressing the R trigger on the Nintendo Switch. So once you do the dream finish, then you defeat the opponent, but you have to have your stamina bar up. So it sort of adds a layer of strategy that I actually like. You don't want to just spam your special attacks because that's going to drain your stamina bar. And if you don't have enough stamina left to do a dream finish, then you won't be able to finish the match. So there is a layer of strategy within that, but the game is just so damn simplified that it drives me absolutely insane. You can't even crouch. I thought my controller was messed up. I actually switched out Joy-Cons because my old Joy-Con sort of has a thing where it gets stuck in the up position sometimes. So I was like, oh, well, maybe they're trying to jump and that's why I'm not allowed to crouch. But no, there's no crouch in the game, and that just really strikes me as odd. The matches themselves are very short because of the fact that each character doesn't have their own life bar. And that's not a huge deal, but it is noticeable. The story mode only took me about 15 to 20 minutes to get through, and while it might seem like, you know, a decent amount of time, it's just the matches just go by so fast. Most of that was just watching cutscenes and things like that. I like the fact that there's items in the game, though. There are item drops that happen within the matches, and there's things like stamina, a banana peel that you can throw on the floor, a bomb to blow up your enemy and take damage on them. So those are pretty cool. It's a very fast-paced game, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think it works in this game, but the problem is it's just too simplified for my liking. I didn't really feel like there was any sort of mastery within the game. It seems like anyone could be able to pick up and play this game and do decently against anyone, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But as far as long-term is concerned with this game, I think it's very shallow, and I think that's going to be a big problem for the long-term audience with this. You gotta figure, fighting games are supposed to be sort of iconic. Fighting games are supposed to be a long-lasting thing. So if the gameplay is so simplified, what's really the appeal of this game as a 2D fighter? I think I figured it out, and honestly, it's something that I could care less about, but I think a lot of people who want like a waifu simulator, I think that's how you pronounce it, will really enjoy, and that's the gold use in this game, because like I said, you can use gold to do things in this game. What can you do with the gold? You can put on accessories on the fighters, you can unlock different costumes, you can customize the costumes, you can do sort of different things, like bunny ears and a tail and things like that, just things that I could care absolutely less about, but I think some people will like it. And once I saw this mode, I sort of realized what the appeal of this game was. It's not supposed to be a really hardcore fighting game. It's supposed to be something that's very over the top, something that's almost silly, something that anyone could pick up and play, and something that people can oogle at the pretty girls over. And while that's not really the type of fighting game I'm into, I think some people will enjoy that. I don't hate SNK Heroines. I don't think it's a terrible game or anything. There are some interesting gameplay mechanics. I enjoy tag team fighting games. I think the stamina bar is really really cool, and I would like to see it used in a future fighting game, maybe something a little more competitive, maybe something a little more hardcore, but this is obviously a very casual fighting game. It's a game that you're supposed to have a few laughs over, a game that you're supposed to customize your character and make them look absolutely absurd, and then play a simple fighting game, because the presentation is pretty good, but like there's only 7 different levels to choose from and things like that. So obviously I don't think this was ever intended to be a hardcore fighting game, but I guess with SNK in the title, that's sort of what I was hoping for. Personally, I'm a bit disappointed with SNK Heroines. It's not a bad game, it's just a very simple game. If you like frantic, simple, fun fighters, maybe you'll enjoy this game though. It definitely looks good, it definitely plays pretty decently for what's there. I just wish there was something more there. So those are my thoughts on SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy. Once again, want to thank NIS America for sending a review copy over for this game, and let me know in the comments section down below what you think of this game. Is this going to be a game that you pick up? Do you enjoy more casual fighting games, or are you into more hardcore fighting games where there's a deep mastery system to learn and a lot of crazy button combinations to learn, and just some overall tech to learn as well? And as always, thank you for watching this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. I'm doing all sorts of reviews on this channel, and as always, I will catch you guys on the next video. Later.